right? Like you was gonna start rhyming.
Yeah, I wish. It's one of the many talents I don't have.
Ice-T said they all started whack. They just had to practice until they got better.
No, that's just Ice-T.
Yeah, I'm about to say.
That ain't everybody. That's just Ice-T.
Yeah. Ice-T was.
Ice-T's he's a good song maker.
In the day, like in the 80s, he did, you know, if you ever like heard 6 in the morning. You know,
Right.
He would just like freestyle that shit for like an hour.
Yeah, that's crazy.
We would just be sitting there like, damn.
I feel like an old person. I'm like, it's just loud.
Did you turn it down?
It's loud. I tried. It's just loud.
And I'm sitting here like,
everything's loud.
Mine's on that.
Yeah, because you don't have that on.
There's a main. Here, I got you, Harmony. Hang on. I mean, you really don't need the headphones until we take a phone call. Yes, I mean.
But I want to be able to hear life when I put the headphones on later on.
Hear what?
I want to be able to hear life. Like if I take a phone call, I'm putting my
that's what I'm saying. No, if they're loud, you could just set them in front of you. So when you get the phone call, you could just hear it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you don't even have to. Yeah, you don't have to. Fair. We only need headphones if it's like 4 or more people.
Okay.
Because nobody's paying attention to anybody, you know. But
that's true.
Usually with 3 or 2 people, it's pretty easy to keep the
We
conversation
got
going.
the interwebs today. Are we live already?
We are live already. Dirt Link is live already.
I thought so. I saw us up on. He's the shifty one, that guy. So you guys have been on camera and everything's been on YouTube already.
It's all good. Yeah. I'm me 24/7.
Right? Exactly. He be doing stuff like that. I looked at his computer. I said, wait a
second. Tonight is the cannabis event.
Is it?
Oh, what?
Yes. First Friday, right?
First Fridays.
Every first Friday?
I mean, you know.
I'm not mad at that.
Get January. Yes, it's supposed to be every first Friday. But they did it at the beach last month, and they kind of did it, you know. Sometimes they just off the cuff.
I mean, we just go with the flow. That's part of being a yogi. It's flow. Especially the ones you help create.
That's right.
They're like, what kind of yoga do you teach? I'm like, it's kind of a soulful. It's like
So like when you're doing it, like do you like clear all your thoughts, or are you thinking of a specific thing?
When I'm teaching yoga?
Yeah. Well, no, when you're doing it.
Okay, so when I'm teaching yoga, I'm thinking of the flow and the point I want to go to.
Okay.
Like what I want the experience to be. When I'm practicing yoga, I'm just thinking about whatever I'm thinking about, or not thinking about whatever I'm thinking about. Like yoga's on and off the mat, so
Right.
sometimes I'm in yoga when I'm in a conversation with someone, and I'm like, hold on, let me be nonviolent. Because yoga is much more than what you see. What you see is just the asanas. It's not the full 8 limbs of yoga. Yoga actually starts with you.
Yeah.
He said what? I got my pen. We got pens around here. This is a 420 friendly space.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
he said,
depends.
well, I mean, this is a 420 friendly space.
Control.
I smoke flower. I like how your vape is. Your little, yes. Here's the little pen that you put the tree in.
Oh.
Yeah.
Pen you put the tree in.
Pen you put the tree in.
I just saw this, I think it was on Instagram. It's like this little pipe. It's not really a little pipe, but you can put like 2 grams of weed in it.
Wow.
And you get like a screw.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you can just like keep twisting it and just like just slow down like.
Yeah, I've seen those.
I've always
Actually, I loaded a few of those for
I had to go get my
some of my. You don't?
I know.
Oh,
It's a real talk. It took me some time, and I started like.
Isn't that the cleanest
rip.
though?
It is.
Long rip will have me going for a few hours.
Yeah.
It's not like my grass pipe is like a cigarette. so you like, you know, you just sitting there smoking like a cigarette or a blunt. It's never like, nah.
Yeah, take your hair down. When's the last time you took your hair down? Let it flow. Let it out. Yes. Woo! There we go. Chat room. I see.
Hit the like button.
But I don't even see.
Hit the share button.
Who's in the
Oh,
chat?
let me put it on Patreon too. Hang on.
Oh, yes.
I gotta put you on Patreon.
I am live on the interwebs. I need to send out the link to people. I should probably get my life together.
We got some guests in the building today, y'all.
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna count you in. How many? Oh, you don't have your headphones.
I still heard you say something.
Right.
What you say?
Nah, just I'm gonna count you in a second.
Okay.
He turned sideways.
Let's see.
Rotate your phone. You can't turn your phone that way while live. Stupid phone. Stupid books of the faces.
It is a charger.
Yeah, there's chargers all over this place.
We're gonna do this now on air.
He said, I'll do the Chinese one. I need the Korean one, honey. I don't even know which one the Korean one is. This one? Here. You mean the green dots? That's why I always hit you up on Instagram. You got green dots.
I'm not trying to be.
Whatever.
I'm not trying to be with the communism. Well, see, y'all don't read.
I do read.
Okay,
Excuse
so
you.
have you read Steve Jobs' autobiography since you have his phones and buying all
That's a
this
good
stuff?
point.
Oh, I have not read it.
I'm gonna use that on my kids. When they want an iPhone, I'm like, all right, you want an iPhone, nigga? How about read this?
Read it.
Yeah.
I have not read Steve Jobs' autobiography. I have not.
The movie's out again. Talking about Steve Jobs.
I'm not that interested in him. I'm interested in making the phone work for me.
Okay.
You see his legacy and success story.
That's his legacy
Imagine
and
if you was Steve Jobs and heard that shit, nigga.
generational wealth.
It's important to understand the dark side. Right? Wielders of the dark side. He's somebody who, you know, practiced Buddhism, some of the stuff we talked about.
Yeah.
He died, but he became
Yeah, he did.
And if you read his autobiography, he wanted you to know he's an asshole.
Yeah.
Right? You'll see, like, okay, he wielded some negativity.
He wielded some negativity.
He did.
The wielders of darkness.
He did.
You ready?
Uh-huh.
I'm a PC. All the time, PC.
4, 3.
Hello, beautiful people. We are back again with the Got Harmony podcast. I am Harmony, your professional dream catcher, and I have a couple special guests to the left of me. But before I get started with them, I have in front of me the one, the only.
Shalom to the people.
You didn't do the...
I got my car towed last night.
Oh,
And
baby.
This is the most positive I've ever been about it. So I'm just trying to stay in that space, you know.
Okay.
Yes, I'm just trying to stay focused, stay positive, you know. I
Amen.
smiled at the people that took my car, you know, so I felt good.
You say God bless you and keep you.
Yeah. I even tipped the guy who brought my car out.
Wow.
Yeah, after I gave him a couple $100, so, you know, I feel good today, you know.
I am so
So,
effing
so it sounds
proud
like
of
there's
you.
a good reason behind getting your car towed.
No. I just choose to look at it in a positive light because I should have choked the nigga that took my car. Yeah.
He was just doing his job. Yeah. I mean, he woke up and chose a job that chooses violence, but I mean, that's besides the point.
Yeah.
To the left of me, I have returning guest, my yoga godfather. And go ahead and introduce yourself to the people.
My name is Ja.
Ja.
I just go by Ja. It's Johnny Cole Thomas II. Shout out to Johnny Cole, my grandfather, who named my father Johnny, but I go by Ja.
Ja. And to the far left of me, I have for the first time on the podcast, Mr. Matthew Douglas Craig. I had to say the whole thing. I had to say the whole thing. Go ahead and introduce yourself to the people.
Oh, yeah. Matthew Douglas Craig. Also had the channel of Matthew Douglas Craig Discovery. Meta from C on Instagram, and founder of Black Lotus Civilization, Blog Talk Radio, where we expressed all the things that we need to do in this country, communities, and to get our stuff together. So I'm really excited to be here and go over this subject that I really hold dear to my heart, you know, getting it together.
Getting it together.
I don't know why I'm here.
I handed out packets, y'all. I handed out packets because this is what I do. It's September 1st. September is the 9th month, which usually symbolizes birth. And it's also rounding us towards the end of the year. And we set all these goals and intentions and everything throughout the year. So I wanted to just come in, take stock of where we are and where we're going. So I brought packets for the gentlemen that are going to indulge me in this topic. I also made a link available if Nick wants to put it in the description, where you can download these worksheets to work on your own. Maybe you're at home or at work and on lunch, and you can go ahead and pull them up and go on this journey with us. I wanted to have a couple different voices in the room because I know we're all at different points in our lives, and I think that always looking towards the future is something I learned from my grandparents. As long as you have something to look forward to, you're going to push for it. So my grandmother's 93, and when I call her, she's like, well, you know, I'm going to do this today, and I'm going to do that today, and I'm going to do this, and I want this, and I'm going to do this. And so I think that hunger for always wanting to have forward momentum is just something that I'm passionate about, period. So without further ado, thank you, Nick, for dropping the Google Drive in the chat. I'm going to ask the gentleman to pull out of their...
You got color in it?
I know, I brought color pencils. Shout out to Heart Shapers, a friend of mine, and there's two. They're two co-hosts, but they did a Sip and Paint live yesterday on their pod called the Heart Shapers. And I was like, well, we're going to do something similar but different. We're going to sip and color. Sip and color.
That's right.
So if you have
Can
your
you smoke
wheel,
and color?
you can smoke. I don't know if they let you smoke in the building, but I mean, I'm not going to stop you from smoking. Nick, that's up to you. What you... Right.
The weed pot.
Right. I don't know. We might be recording this one outside next time.
That's right.
Yeah, let's go to a yoga retreat somewhere. Come on, man.
Yes. We're going to start with the wheel. And the reason we're starting with the wheel is because we have so many different aspects of our lives that we have moving at the same time. And so the wheel is a way for me to help people take stock on if the glass is half full, half empty, somewhere in between, and what areas may need more attention, which ones are on point and flow in the right directions, and just what we think about where we're at. So it's all about your perception. Now, leading up to this, we did a few shows on what certain things should be. We did what 40 should look like. We did what friendships should look like. We did what mental health should look like. We did all of these things talking about what things should be. So I want us to look at where are we? And so because I've always felt like people are naturally visual people, I wanted us to start with physical health. Because I think physical health is something that we look in the mirror and we see ourselves and we equate that to physical health, which is not necessarily the whole picture, right?
It's not.
It is really not. And as we get older, we realize you may look great on the outside, but you're not feeling so great on the inside. Are you hydrating correctly? Are you eating correctly? Are you doing the things that you know you need to do to make sure that your body feels good? I know tons of people who exercise and don't stretch. So then they come up to me, right? Because as a yogi, everybody thinks we just stretch people for an hour.
Yeah.
And everyone says, I should really go to yoga class. I really need yoga. To which I always respond, everyone does. Because yoga is far more than what you see us do in the window of the gym. Our yoga practice follows us throughout our days in our everyday life. So, in your wheel, I want you to take stock on where you are, 0 to 10, with how you're feeling about that area.
Oh, so other people are doing this, basically.
Oh, well, we're hoping that at some point they do. That's the hope, is that somebody's thinking about something. And people are actually listening to the existential questions that I'm asking.
Okay, word.
He said, okay, fine. Pop's like, I'm not doing it. I refuse to color on the pod. That's okay. You don't have to color.
No. I mean, I could. You want me to color in the physical health part?
Yeah.
Where I feel? I'm not physical health.
How you feel your physical health is doing.
See,
Does the color matter?
No. It could be any color you want. You want me to bring you some colors, Nick?
No, I'm good on the color thing. So what are we supposed to write in there? What are we doing?
You can write in there.
Well, see,
you
they
can
got
color it.
numbers and
I
stuff.
colored
I know.
mine in.
you saw mine was like, you did
Mine
this?
has
I know.
numbers and colors.
What's your physical health number? What that say?
Mine says 8.5.
8. Oh, we do halves. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you could do half.
You
You
just had
could
to
do
beat
quarters.
mine. That's why.
Yes, I did. I did have to beat yours.
I mean,
So you're the person creating the scale. It's based on your personal satisfaction with your life. No one can answer these questions for you but you. But you have to ask yourself the question first.
I mean, I'm alive, so I mean, it's kind of a 10 for me.
And that is Nick.
I think I'll give myself a 9.
I love it. 9s, 10s, 8s, 8.5s.
Because it's damn sure about how I feel. I give a damn about what people think about my look.
Come on, somebody.
That's right.
I got up. I looked at myself. I didn't have to take a whole bunch of medication. I had to carry around a oxygen tank behind me. I have the activity of my limbs, the function of my body.
Let me tell you, at 52, I get up out of the bed. I can like jump out and feel cool. Yeah,
You can teach yoga for 90 minutes without flinching.
exactly.
You know what's like so true that you kept saying in yoga training? A 90-minute class will feel short to you once you start teaching yoga. And an hour never feels like it's long enough. Unless I'm super tired to begin with. But like an hour, because I only have an hour for my class, like sometimes I'll come in early and I'll start early and I'll do the 90 minutes and I'm like, man, I could have totally done this. Like 90 minutes was nothing.
Nothing at all. Because it'd be really innocent if you're thinking what it is that you want to do. And you think about the 8 limbs, right?
Yeah.
Like the first part of the ethics, the yamas and niyamas, that observances and restraints. Then you're really kind of slowly taking people through what they need to observe, what they need to restrain. That's that kind of slow build. And then as they get to that now movement aspect, you start kind of getting them up slowly now, start to move them. And then you start to make them focus on that breath. That's the whole first part of what people see.
That could take 5 minutes or 40 minutes, to be honest.
Really,
Sometimes when I get in there, they've just come out of body pump, so their like energy is all high, and I'm like, okay, go ahead. Welcome to yoga. Go ahead and lay back on your mats. And then people are like sitting up and looking at me, and I'll wait. I'm like, if you're new here, go ahead and lay back on your mat, and I'll wait. Like, if you can't breathe, you can't live. We are going to be breathing first. Take a deep breath in, and I wait. Exhale. You're like, that is not. I'm like, yes. And if I can do it as asthmatic, I'm going to challenge you to try and do it yourself. If it's available to you, go ahead and take a deep breath in. Take another sip.
Right.
If it's available.
Then release. Like, okay, good. You're breathing. 12.
Yes, that's that. There is that part for me. I just tell them, sit back or sit there. close your eyes, listen to yourself, and then I start breathing. And of course, my breathing is going to be deeper.
Right.
And now people start kind of taking that example, and that's them really slowing things down.
Yeah.
And like the work part, which, you know, is the work part, which people don't necessarily expect because they're thinking of just stretching and being all whatever. You said having to like clear your mind. You asked that question earlier, like, do you like clear your mind? If you're focusing on yourself, you don't have the room to allow your mind to be wandering everywhere.
Right.
And like when I put people on one leg, you only have one leg.
Right.
You ain't thinking about yesterday or whatever. Like, oh, there's one leg. And that clears your mind. Right.
Gotcha.
If you spend that time doing all that, then by the time you get to that final part of laying back, your mind is cleared.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking into doing it. I need to.
I
I definitely agree. Everybody needs to do it. We all
You
need
say
to do
you
it.
did Tai Chi for a while, right?
Yeah, but I didn't take it as serious as I probably should have.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, us doing massage therapy, like a little break, I would join in and did it for about a year. But, yeah, I wish I would have took it serious because it was, you know, a lot of the same methods into the start, being relaxed and breathing and calm. And, you know, it gave me a real clarity and even helped me do massages. It helped me flow through the whole massage. Before, I'm all like technique, have this down, but after that, I had a whole, you know, rhythm with the body mechanics.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you really like study it to know, again, like it's a Western modality to think of yoga as just movement and whatever. When you understand it's this philosophy, then you get that Buddhism is yoga, Tai Chi is yoga, karate is yoga, Kung Fu is yoga.
Right.
All these philosophies that tell you to go inward and like find that focus and that grounding. You find it in every ancient civilization, every culture, if you will. And so it's like it is not as if it belongs to just one people.
Right.
Revealed knowledge is revealed from inside. And so if you quiet yourself, then you can begin, oh man, now I can really get in to what I'm doing, especially something like massage. If you're like now grounded, now you're really listening to someone's body and moving in their own breath, and they're going to love that massage.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it changed my whole routine and everything.
Yeah.
That's exactly one of the key things it did. I had people get up, how did you know to do that? I didn't even tell you what area was in pain. Just completely in tune. So, and I got used to doing that. So now for me, it's like doing yoga, it would be like where I'm doing it for myself and my body. So I need this. Especially I have some injuries too, from car accidents and stuff. So
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's about moving the energy through your body. So I'm going to have us skip from physical health to mental emotional health. Yes. They thought we were going to financial. We'll come back around to that.
Mental and emotional health.
Now you can choose a different color or you can do the same color. But I believe that one impacts the other. Right? That's fair.
Yeah.
Your mental, emotional health impacts your physical health.
I think they all impact.
They do.
It's just one circle.
It
We're
is.
just colored in sections.
Exactly. But those specifically have to do with your physical body and the human being that you are made up of, right? As within, so without. Right?
I could stand about like 10 pounds. That's why I'm a 9 there. And a 10 in mental health.
I love it. My mental health was
there
higher
too.
than my physical health as well.
Yep.
I had myself as about a 9 for mental emotional health. You know, I feel like I always give myself a little bit of room to grow. But you know what? I definitely have so many healthy practices to keep me in check, keep me in line, keep me accountable, and keep me tapped in.
That's being present. I think like I'm very spoiled in that my life is all kind of one thing. So that my job, when I talk to my friends,
Yes.
everything is kind of that one thing.
Yeah.
And so I don't have to have like sections of where they don't know about them. And it's
Right.
like, it just allows me to do yoga all day, basically.
Yeah, do yoga all day.
All day.
All day. You know what? I'm getting to the point where I can do yoga all day. I don't know if you remember, but when I was practicing yoga, I had like a gym room in my house. And so fast forward to now, I just got the gym room back yesterday. So I have myself all set up and ready to go. And I am going to be teaching yoga on live soon. So I could do yoga all day because I could just wake up, go take a shower, and then pop in. Or like not take a shower because who cares? I'm on live. You guys can't smell me anyways. So
We can hear that.
You can smell yourself.
Yeah, that's right.
you see me like
He's making them faces
lift
like
your arm. Oh wait.
Oh, shit.
Wow. that's something.
It's never truly about the other person.
Oh,
That's how you feel about you. You know what I'm saying?
Like, did I brush my teeth before I started this? But I think that one of the aspects of mental emotional health that I end up talking to my clients about most is outlets. Like how to create and carve out outlets to move negativity, to move past experiences, to move weight off of their shoulders, to remove or move stress in the body. And so
Outlets, yes.
you have done really well at that. You have,
Outlets.
because you've created this yoga envelope, basically, where you've enveloped yourself in this space of healing and wellness and peace. And, you know, that's
Love.
amazing.
I mean, you know, it's taking time and divorces and all kind of stuff. You know, when you something I think people like, you know, oh, I don't feel well and I want to feel better. I think sometimes people don't get that in order to feel better, you might have to feel worse because you've been doing things to make yourself comfortable.
Yes.
And now that you're comfortable, you know, you're just like in a slow agony.
Yes.
And so when you say, I want to feel like better, then you kind of now got to get uncomfortable.
It's like living
Absolutely.
on sweets, right? It's like you want to be comfortable, so you're eating sugar and all the things that just taste good. And it's like, no, you're going to have to eat a salad. You're going to have to eat,
Right.
you know,
And that's going to
veggies.
cause withdrawal from the sugar. Or
Yes.
So like you have to kind of go through something.
Yes.
So that's the, in a sense, physical, mental, all that in order to really change your life.
Yeah.
And so I always tell people like, yeah, sure, I'm doing X, Y, and Z things, but it took transition to have to recognize, like when you ask for things, then you're really recognizing that when something leaves or is taken from you, that you actually ask for it to make room for something new in your life.
Facts.
You just don't necessarily see it in that way. It may in that moment seem real messed up, but when you look back, you're like, man, because that thing happened, I was able to move forward in this new way.
Yeah.
Right? It's like you got to get uncomfortable, and that's why things get removed from us.
You can't
Absolutely.
hold on to anything, not even your breath.
No.
That's what Monday I had them focus on the things that we've had to let go of in this season. The things that we've had to say goodbye to, whether it be people, whether it be habits, whether it be cars, anything, you know? You never really know. And then on Wednesday, I had them focus on what we're welcoming new, what has been new to come into our lives, whether it be kids or relationships or jobs or coworkers or any of the things that are just new. Because sometimes we just don't take the time to honor the ebb and flow of life. We inhale and then we exhale. We cannot hold on to any of this.
That's real. But again, people don't recognize we're in motion.
Yeah.
You're in constant motion, and thereby change is kind of guaranteed. We're never going to stay the same. It's like why we are emotional is energy motion. Right? If you want to say, like, there's nothing here, but when you wave your hand, you feel something.
Right.
And so, in a sense, to really understand that your energy in motion is to recognize your emotions.
Yeah.
If I'm sad, I'm slow. If I'm happy, I'm fast.
Yeah.
That's me actually experiencing
Yes.
me in this motion.
Yeah.
Right? And if I'm calm, then I'm in what we call this ecstatic state. There is no time.
Mm-hmm.
Things can just like roll. And so when you're doing something and you're present and you love it, there is no time. You can just be like lost in it. And when you come back, people are like, what did you just do here?
Right.
You're like, shit, I don't know. I just was flowing. And that's trying to get present, trying to be. And again, why I would say I have a strong sense of emotional health is that I even love it when I'm sad.
Yeah.
It's something to reflect and recognize what I may miss and now what I need to do going forward.
Yeah.
Right? There's no like bad, if you will. There's
No.
just recognizing simply what is or where we are.
Absolutely. I think that's one of the things that just solidified like the depth of relationship I have with you and Jana was, that was one of the hardest seasons for me. I had just been killed like a couple weeks after we started the class. I think maybe only like a week and a half after we started the class. And you gave me space. You were like, if you want to cry, cry. I think you cried with me at one point. If you want to put yourself on mute, put yourself on mute. If you want to turn your camera off, and then you would just call me and be like, hey, Harmony, come back in the room. And I would pop the camera back on and come back in the room. And you created space. And that's what I love to do. I love to create spaces for the messy stuff.
Yeah, we call that human beings.
Yeah, like if we don't create space for the messy stuff, then people just glaze over it and act like it doesn't happen.
Right.
And then we don't know how to be okay with sadness. And so then when you express sadness to other people, they don't know what to do with it because they're not okay with their own sadness. They're not okay with their own mourning. They're not okay with their own discomfort, anger, any of those emotions. Since they don't know what to do with them, when they see someone else with them, they really don't know what to do. Because that emotion scares me inside of me, so it definitely scares me outside of me where I have no control.
Yeah. I've lost so many, again, being in my 5th decade, you get to like reflect and see it. And I've lost so many people that, mourning is just a part of it. And
Yeah.
It kills me when folks like, you're still mourning.
Yeah.
You're not over that yet.
No.
Never.
Like, damn, like, you crazy. Like, you gotta
Yeah.
give people their space. You gotta let them do their thing.
Yeah.
It's a process. And that is even in relationships,
100%.
Thinking of my daughter and, well, I'll just say me. I am like putting in other people's relationships, right? But you have to like mourn relationships. Like once she now turned into a woman, I had to mourn
Her
the little
being a
girl
child.
that
Yes.
she was, and now
Yes.
allow her to be who she was, as opposed to the relationship she may have with her other parent, where
Yeah.
they're still trying to control and whatever. So there's that friction and
Right.
whatever. It's like,
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a lot of issues with that. Going from certain age, like first you're buying pads, 13, 12, and then becoming a lady, a woman. It's that's the reason why I had such a low score on my mental emotional health, because it was like I was overwhelmed coming back and dealing with not seeing my daughter for a couple of years and then seeing that she's already grown, and it's like, dang, I missed out on these years. And at the same time, I see a lot of things that like I feel that I should have been there to make sure she didn't get to the level of having rather it's weight or failing in school. But yeah, man, it's a way to deal with these things with children where we see ourselves in the time when the time when we were going through what they were going through. And it's like, dang, should I like back away and let her grow this way and get through it on her own? Should I come in and be like her net safety? I could be stopping her from learning how to overcome a great deal. So for me, it was very conflicting. Like, damn, should I step in full speed? Let me back up. I don't want to end up having a child where she no longer wants to be in my life and doesn't want me in her life. So yeah, that's what me mental, emotional, person.
Daughters. My daughter is a teenager right now. It's her first year of teenagehood. She's 13. She's going to be 14 in December. And it's been I didn't put that in there. That's my extra spot. I love her, and it's Like, I'm so proud of who she's coming into. Like, she loves soccer. She's great at things that she does and applies herself. She's 13, but she started playing in a 16 and up league for soccer. This is only really her second calendar year playing soccer. So it's her third season, but like, she's taken to it like a fish to water. And I'm very proud of her. And I try my best not to just, oh, I miss when you were little, because I hear that all the time from my family. It's like, you're always going to be my baby. I'm like, I'm a grown up, right? My dad's like, you're my princess. I'm like, when am I going to be a queen? And he's like, well, I'm the king, so you're always going to be a princess to me. And I'm like, I'm a queen. But I'm a queen. But like, you just have to hold space for it, right? Whenever she's done with her soccer games, she can't wait to call me and tell me. And she's going to have to get through all of the, and this happened, 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 right? Well, last week, a girl pushed her down, and I had a hard time hearing anything she said past that. I was like, what? Someone threw you on the ground. Like, wait, what? What? And she was like, yeah, but, and she was trying to get past that point. I was like, okay, I can do this. Nonviolence. I can do this. Okay. I'm like, and how did you handle it? Did you love it? You know, and she loves every aspect of it, you know? And so how do we support them in being them and allowing them to fall on their own?
Yeah.
I don't know. Touch and go. Touch and go.
I don't know. See, mine is about to be 26. So that's why I'm like,
yeah, okay. I got a godson that's 27. He still gives me enough to deal with. Oh. And on that note, we're going to move to relationship help.
Yeah.
We're going to move this thing right along. So we've done physical health.
Right.
We're doing mental, emotional health. We're doing relationship health. So.
Which relationship?
Any of them. This is so the way I see relationship is how I manage healthy relationships. Like, what is my overall stock on how well I've managed healthy relationships? You can't control the other person, but giving your contribution and where you are with your friendships, with your coworkers, with, you know, the people you interact with, just where are you compared to where you want to be? I have people that, unlike us, they only got one friend. And they're like, all my friends are trash. And I'm like, chances are it means that you need to learn how to be a better friend and create some better boundaries so that you can have healthier relationships, because that's within your control.
It's like, or that you're trash.
Well, I mean, that's a nice way of saying you're the one that has to do the work. Like, it's not everybody else. It's definitely not everyone else. Everyone has a contribution. So.
Yeah, I feel good about my relationships. I don't know how other people feel.
And we did like a whole show. Danny and I did a show on the 7 ingredients to a healthy friendship. And Nick, Danny, and I came up with pretty much all the same ones, right? We were talking about the same thing. You know, it takes for you to be upright in character and want to be around people like that if you're going to want that type of engagement, you know?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Nick.
Since I'm not enough.
I seen you put the mic back down.
Oh, I thought you were going to ask me a question. That's why I put the mic down. I mean, for relationships, you know what I've learned since I've been married, I could say, and I think this applies to all relationships, whether it be your mother, your brother, whatever it is. I think they're all just mirrors, pointing out the shit you need to work on, you know? So I just think it's either that God has a hell of a sense of humor with me. Like, he's giving me a wife that requires me to do everything that I'm uncomfortable doing.
Oh, shit,
You know what I mean?
That's just
So
That's just like, that's not marriage.
which is what I thought at first, right? And I really thought about it. But when I look at every relationship I have and any issue that I have with them, it's really just challenging me to grow. And that's, when you really think about it, every encounter I have with somebody, no matter how it's like, that's how I approached the thing with my car the other day.
Yeah.
Right? Normally,
Yeah.
I would have just lost my shit and it would have been a problem.
Yes.
But I was like, you know what? Let me just turn the coin over. And maybe I need to work on being in control of my emotions and not getting upset about little shit. Maybe that's what it is. You know, I
Right.
don't know.
Right.
But I've learned that being married, you know, that a lot of times, I would say for me, all the time, it's about self-reflection, no matter what's happening.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I try to use that method. And that's what I've learned about relationships. You know, that's what I've gathered from it is I don't ever look at the other person. I try to look and see, okay, what is this showing me about myself?
Mm-hmm.
Do I not want to be like this person?
Yeah.
Is that why this person's around
Yeah.
me? To show me a mirror like, oh, I don't want to do this shit.
Right.
So maybe I need to get my shit together.
Yeah.
You know, or do I want to be like this? Do I need to take notes from what this person's doing, you know?
Yeah.
Or they may point out that I need to work on my emotion. I need to work on, my wife pointed out I need to work on my tone and being patient
Okay.
and really being intent in listening to somebody.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I'm used to just looking at a motherfucker and be like, oh, word, that's crazy. Ain't hear shit a motherfucker said, you know what I mean? So now I'm in a position where I actually have to sit there and listen, like, oh shit, I gotta take notes and shit, and I gotta turn my phone recorder
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I gave you a packet.
Right. And at first, right. At
He
first,
said,
right.
damn. As soon as I get a packet, who just came in the room? I'm going to give them a packet too.
My wife, she just came in. Brought me some
Come
lunch, I
on.
think.
Come get a packet.
She just brought me
I
some
was
lunch.
just asking.
Yeah, so I just think that's
Come get a packet.
I think that's so interesting. You know
And
what
a
I mean?
hug.
So,
Because they made me look bad. Like I said, I don't even like her when I said I don't know her that well last time. I was like, I don't know her. Like, we don't hang out. You were like, what? I was like, I mean, you know, if she called me, we would. She got my phone number.
I was just
Ah!
Asking about you.
Hi, gorgeous. You gonna get you a packet too.
I know, we just cheesing at somebody and just like all off camera, but packages.
It was perfect timing that we called him out and she walked in the room. Perfect timing.
But I say
I was
life
talking about you.
is a relationship. Like it's
1,000%.
relate to it. So that's why I'm like relationship help. It's all about that self-reflection.
Yes.
Again, if we live in chaos,
Yes.
then whatever is in front of me is what I'm paying attention to.
Yes.
And thereby what I've asked or called in.
Yes.
And so if I can get the reasoning behind that, the even in the sense to say if I have a vision, how is this going to help me get to that vision?
Yes.
Right? That's the best way to look at anything.
Yeah.
Because that will empower you. Oh, okay, how's it? Oh, I don't have to pay the money for that no more.
Yep.
I don't have to, I
Yep.
can move that to the side. Like,
Yep.
oh, I don't have the money to be eating like that anymore. And so now, oh shit, now I can maybe lose some weight. People, I don't have enough for dinner. It's like, do you really need dinner?
Yeah.
You know, somebody who fasts for 10 days, 4
Come
times
on,
a year,
somebody.
You don't need dinner, but
You really don't need. We were just talking about that yesterday. You really don't need dinner.
you see people holding on to their frustration.
Yeah.
As opposed to just letting go in faith.
Well, because a lot of these things are conditioned. And so I didn't bring them over here, but like that's one of the things that I ask people in my book about their why. Like you have to take stock on your why. Like, why do you brush your teeth the way you brush your teeth? Why do you wake up? Why is your morning routine what your morning routine is? Is it something that you learned? Is it something that you created on your own? Is it something that you watched someone else do and you're like, you know what, I need to add in that. I don't floss enough. This person flosses. Okay, this person flosses and they do the charcoal brush too. Okay, this person oil pulls, flosses, does the charcoal brush and gargles with peroxide afterwards. Okay. Well, you know, on the days where I have time, I'm going to do all of them. And I really do. Like, all of those things I actually do when it comes to brushing my teeth. Now, when I was younger, it was just get in there, brush your teeth, sing the ABC song, and then you're done. See? Exactly. Everyone is conditioned for different things. So sooner or later, you have to take stock on what you learned and then what you want. And then life is like the in-between to me. Not everyone. Some people don't believe they can have what they want. Right? And so they don't even push themselves to figure out what they want. They don't ask themselves what they want. They're just unhappy and they numb out.
Well,
And they check out.
Conditioning.
Conditioning.
Culturally, we've all been conditioned in that way.
Yeah.
That we can't have what we want. That you know, basically wear the trinkets and do the certain rituals and whatever, and you'll
You
have
want your
a happy
packet?
afterlife. But not that you'll have that you can have a happy life right now.
Yeah.
And you know,
Absolutely.
but that takes taking responsibility for the unhappy life that you have.
Yes.
If I know that I'm calling in the unhappy things, now I can understand how to call in the happier things, if you
Yes.
will.
Yes.
And taking that kind of responsibility makes me now have to shift who I'm being, as opposed to blaming other folks.
Yes.
And this is what we do for people who can't say, I can't call in what I want because that person's not acting right. And so that person has power over me.
Yes.
If it don't matter about the other person, then I've got all that power.
Yes.
And it becomes just understanding what I'm putting my energy towards, who I'm putting my energy towards.
Yes.
And once I take that responsibility, now I have control.
Yes. Yeah.
But so, I have to deal with these people. No, you don't.
No.
You don't.
No, you don't.
I have a crazy story with that. I was a part of a whole social media group, and everybody was combative, arguing and yelling, cussing each other out, threatening, and it came to a point where I was forced to stop, dealing with them, and I came back to it, and I saw the way it went. The relief I had from just telling everyone, you know what, I'm not doing this anymore, and the burden, it's such a great feeling, but some things need to be replaced. So it's like when we do, relieve ourselves of that, it's like, what do we replace it with?
Energy's never lost or stolen, so the energy's got to go to something. So.
Yeah. But it usually is something else that we want to do, which is why we don't want to do it anymore.
Right.
Like, I don't want to do. I want to go do this.
Yes.
It's like when I decided to stop gangbanging and selling dope, I was like, I wanted to go do something else. I wanted to go, and I was like, well, what was that? It happened to be dancing. This may sound funny.
I love it. I love it.
Right, you like suppress yourself and don't allow yourself to be who you would like to be. And literally going from selling dope, being on the streets of South Central to dancing on Soul Train was like, whoa, okay. And now looking to I stopped associating in a sense with people who only saw street life. Like that's what I was raised in. It was just, that's how it was. But then I got to see, it was like, well, some people talk about other things. Like they talk about like this life I have no idea about, and that's scary.
Yeah.
To like now you like kind of come out of your element and start talking to people who don't necessarily talk as crazy or out there as you. But that is what like people say, like I never guess you, did all that stuff, back in the day. I was like, well, I did all that stuff back in the day. What I've done in that in between time has made me now have to be a different individual.
Yes.
And there's like choosing
Yes.
to be
Yeah.
a different individual.
Yeah.
And like letting go of those friends. And they'll look at you different.
Of course.
But again, it's like, shit, who am I comparing myself to?
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Whose opinion matters most?
Absolutely.
Is it your opinion of yourself, or are you still looking for social acceptance? And what community are you looking for acceptance from? What are you running from by taking responsibility for yourself? And who are you accountable to? So
Right.
that's what relationships to me, it's for the most part, I've accepted a certain responsibility in someone's life, right? Like I've said that I want to get on this ship with you, right? Whether it be a friendship, a relationship, an intimate relationship, but I'm on this ship with you and we're seeing where it can go, right? Now, you don't have to want to go on, the maiden voyage across the Atlantic in a friendship. You could just have a friendship where you like to go to the store together. You have a friendship where you just like to go to the gym together. They don't have to commingle. If they do commingle, cool, but it's up to you and that person to decide what the relationship's function is for. If it's just to go to brunch and enjoy brunch, whatever the function is for, we enter into these like quote unquote social contracts with people. And we have to be honest with ourselves when those social contracts don't feed the aspect of us that they once did. And things do grow and wither and die sometimes. And friendships do the same. Relationships do the same. Like sometimes there's an arc and there's people that are there for a reason, a season, or a lifetime.
Yeah, I don't know if I see it as like we have friendships based on our like beliefs, right? And so like
Values.
my friendships are based on people's sense of yoga or a sense of taking responsibility. Somebody you can't take responsibility for your life, you ain't necessarily gonna be somebody I'm gonna be talking to, because you're gonna be complaining about everything, talking mess about all the folks around you and so on. So my friends basically are people who could be self-reflective, and seeing it in that point, I think we can have healthy relationships if we can have healthy understandings.
Yeah.
Like in the sense of that social contract, if you are my wife, then now what is that understanding of that? And it becomes important to even discuss that, because we may assume a relationship as opposed to actually participate in it.
Right.
And participating in it is being there, listening, having true understanding. And I think when you can have that type of relationship with all those people around you, then there's just all healthy relationships. Because we get into a right-wrong conversation with people. And those are those people, again, who aren't self-reflective.
Yeah.
And so, I was talking to this Trump supporter, and they were like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, okay, I hear what you are saying. My opinion comes based on this evidence, and this evidence. Where's your evidence? Well, I think and I feel. Like, okay, I hear you. You're talking about what you think and what you feel.
Right.
We're having a debate, which means we're trying to get down to what is, not what you feel. That's a whole different thing. We're trying to say what evidence, what is giving you this understanding. This is what I'm trying to get to. And so in the end, when you have none, then your understanding is just based on your emotions.
Right.
And thereby you're kind of an unstable person to be talking about this topic, because you're basing it on your emotions, not facts, not evidence. Right? But that takes having to really be listening to someone, to have the patience to go, okay, we're still talking about your emotions.
Yes.
Right. It's not even about the topic anymore.
Right.
Yes.
It's about like ego and
Facts.
emotion.
If you don't want to talk about facts, then there's no reason for us to continue this conversation.
Right.
And thereby, I'm not going to sit here and play round robin with you in your emotions.
Yes.
It's been very hard for me to do that too. To just really stop. I'll pick at the scab.
I don't do it at
Grab
all.
him by the what?
Yeah, I mean,
Politics though.
it feels good to wrong somebody.
Sometimes it does.
Oh man.
Sometimes.
Shit, you can feel, like slam you like Kareem, like laughing on somebody. I'm a smart ass. But now that you begin to see like, oh, this person actually has no foundation, then it's like picking on a child.
Yes.
And so it's like, I'm not really getting a good dunk.
Right.
Facts.
Right.
And so now I could just sit back and in a sense point out your childishness, and everybody else can just like, oh. And I ain't really said anything of any mean-spiritedness. I've just pointed out again that you have no...
That you're
The
stupid.
emperor has no clothes on.
That
Very
you're
old story.
stupid.
I don't know if everybody knows that story, but... Back
All
when they
right.
made kids read.
Let's jump to spiritual health.
Ooh.
Yes. Make it interesting.
I mean, the same thing we talking about.
Right.
Similar, right?
Well,
Because it's a relationship.
it is. It is.
It is a relationship. It takes work.
That encompasses all of them. Mental health.
That is real. That's,
They're all related.
Yeah.
Did Nick give you his packet? She gets her own packet. He just don't want to do his homework, so he's like, my wife's going to do my homework. Look at his smiling. Betty.
I think spiritual health is the most important
Yes.
health.
Absolutely.
A lot of people lack spiritual health, spiritual maturity.
Yes.
And again, a lot of that is by design.
Keep going.
Well, because we don't get, we think that like religion and spirituality is the same thing.
Right.
And we don't understand that they're actually opposite sides of the same coin.
Yes.
And so my religion is there to try and point out my spirituality.
Right.
It's like, my word and my meaning.
Yes.
And because people, again, think just simply because they have a Bible, now they've done their spiritual work. Like, well,
Right.
no, you're just carrying a tool.
Yes.
That's idolatry to just hold the book.
Yes.
Right.
They're wearing a cross. Haven't read the book, don't know anything about the book, don't know anything about other spiritual books and how they compare and contrast.
Exactly. And so to be spiritual is to be loving or be present, to actually be there in the moment with whatever you are with. Again, loving all as loving God, loving is saying basically love. That's a relationship that you have with everything around you.
Yes.
But if you don't, again, take responsibility for that,
Yeah.
and you're like, well, I went to church on Sunday, and
Right.
now Monday through Saturday, you out being, Cardi B. Then it's like, again, you're just using the church as opposed to existing in the community.
Conditioning,
Which is
right?
what the church is supposed to be.
Right.
But
So
yes, conditioning.
churches originally were built for like to be in the home. You gathered with your community. You break bread, like Jesus said. You fellowship with one another. You share with one another. Right. It's supposed to be communal. That's supposed to be the foundation. Is love, and there were originally in almost every society, people are tribal. So whoever you were around, that was your church community. We don't do that anymore. People drive for an hour to go to the church they grew up in because their mom and daddy used to take them to that church. And that's the church they're used to. They like the pew that they sit on. And it's more religious than anything else. They can go in and out, be sitting there for 2 hours and don't know what anything was. They sang the same songs, read the same passages, and haven't grown at all.
Yeah, growing up in L.A. In the 80s, there was a church like every three streets. And that whole neighborhood, everyone went to those specific churches. You really don't see that anymore.
I mean, you see a lot of churches closing, but I think if you don't grow with the times, of course you're going to die.
Well, the black community is more diverse to where, like, back in the 80s, if you'd have came out here, you wouldn't have saw no black folks walking around.
Yeah.
That's true.
And so, like, I come out and I look and I'm like, wow, we're so now dispersed around California, where now you don't have the congregations in LA like you used to.
And it's the most segregated time per week is church.
I mean, yeah, everybody's making their choice to go. And again, as we get back to being by design, churches weren't designed to bring nations together. They were designed to, in a sense, hold neighborhoods.
Yes.
It's like you really see it like within Chicago, how they have these wards and so on and so forth. And then these politicians go and pay these certain preachers and whatever to now tell the people whatever it is they want to hear.
Right.
And when you get that was how the Catholic Church and all that was set up by Constantine, which was to say, I am the emperor, and now I hand out edicts that now get handed out to all of the other different bishops and so on forth. Like, that is what the church was founded on.
Yeah.
Again, people who practice the way, not Christianity. Again, Christianity is like saying, niggas.
Yeah.
Because
it is. It was
people
only in the Bible 3 times, and it
were
was used
reading
as a
it,
diss word.
They didn't call themselves Christians. They
No.
called themselves followers of the way.
Yes.
It was the Romans who called them Christians.
Yes.
And so, again, it would be like today, like, white folks get to determine, who we actually are. And all the years later, like, yeah, those are the niggas.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the same way of
1000%.
describing Christians. People don't know what it is that they are reading. You're reading something in Greek.
Yes.
And these Greeks, again, when you understand how to write, then you've been educated. And so if you've been educated in a Greek understanding, then there's all this philosophy that these people were grounded in.
Yes.
And so if you read the Bible, or actually the New Testament,
Yes.
under a Greek understanding, now you read it from more of a mystical perspective.
Right.
Like, read the book of John and understand that it's actually talking from a mystical perspective,
Yes.
you're like, oh my God.
It's the most spiritual of all the Gospels.
It is so deep in the sense of it trying to tell you to take personal responsibility.
Yes.
Right.
That Christ is in you.
Yes.
It's not in the sense of this other man or whatever. Like, it's supposed to be you're a Jesus that has a Christ in you.
Yes.
And can you strip down your ego
Yes.
to where you can hear that revealed knowledge, that love, that truth that resides in all of us?
Yes.
Let me get off my soapbox.
No, but it's so true. And let me jump on your soapbox real quick, because like the Gospels and how they're written is like one of my soapboxes, because I love like just studying what we've looked at, like they are supposed to be read in succession when they're not. They're not supposed to be read in succession. So like Mark was written first, it was cut off. So when you read it, it's the shortest of the Gospels. Matthew was written based on Mark, and so they added and sprinkled in a little bit more details in Matthew. Luke was written by Luke, who was a Gentile, who also wrote Acts. And then John was written for a full theological understanding of how to engage with Christ. And that's why you have Christ's the Lord's Prayer, where people usually think of the model prayer as the Lord's Prayer. Jesus prayed for us in John 17. But John starts out, in the beginning there was the Word, and the Word was with God, right? It starts from the mystic perspective.
Which is what the Kemetic people, in a sense, say, that whatever that higher entity is, or whatever you want to say, the Atum, now speaks existence into being, and so on and so forth. And you just see it prevailing over and over again from a mystical perspective.
Yes.
But what you see ultimately is this perversion of where we think that God makes straight lines.
Right.
A beginning and an end.
Right.
Right? We can observe God's work.
Yes.
We call it nature.
Yes.
And at
yes.
no point do you see a straight line.
No.
Do you see a beginning or an end?
No.
Right? The tree leaves go down, they refertilize, and whatever, it all gets
Cyclical.
recycled.
It's all cyclical.
And so here we are trying to make some man-made understanding as God's truth, which just can't be. There is no beginning and end. You're in this infinite loop. Right? Look up and observe it. Look down and observe it. Really understand that time is not a straight line.
Right.
It is an unfolding over and over and over again. Things are repeating. Women demonstrate this life cycle.
Yeah.
And so
We
again,
have to live it firsthand.
I was having a conversation every Sunday. I have a conversation. You can find them on YouTube, actually. I call them The Way, Spiritual Perspectives, with me and a friend of mine who's a Jehovah's Witness. We have these discussions to where I always explain, like, for me to accept it in the way that fundamentalists accept it, then you have to take God out of my people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, saying that God is not there whispering in the ear of the Africans who weren't exposed to just this lineage of story.
Right.
And when you understand that that's blasphemous to me and offensive,
Yes.
then you'll get that you keep claiming this exclusion that comes from, again, a European society that did not understand we're all one.
Right.
Again, that they're using an egoic perspective to try and explain to us spirituality. And that's the design of the trap that fundamentalist Christianity is.
Yeah.
Not Christianity in the sense of a spiritual truth in a mystical sense, but Christianity and what we see Trump supporters and them fighting to hold on to.
I think that's one of the oldest spiritual wars, right? Is trying to monetize spirituality.
Yeah.
Right? It goes back to ancient Egyptian, even not past before that, right? When they used to weigh their heart against the feather, and then they tried to monetize it like, oh, if you buy this, then you can shortcut weighing your heart against the feather.
Right.
Right?
That's why they call it the Book of the Dead now. Because they find it with all of these dead folks. And when they found out that, oh, wait, the priests wind up selling these books to all the people to say, oh, this is how you get to the afterlife. You just take this book and you put it with you. Not that you actually had to read it. You had to understand it and now say, oh, man, there's 42 things I can't do. I have to be in a loving way, which is what all of this text now is saying. right? And so if they weren't reading it, then it was kind of pointless. But again, because of the greed, made it pointless. But this is the cycle that happens.
Yes.
In that, in the beginning, we like, oh man, we see this deeper truth, and then over time, it gets perverted, and then the society fails, and then it starts all over again.
Yeah.
And then it starts all over again. And so people are like, oh, waiting for the second coming. It's like, well, you're just waiting for the society to fall apart, as it always does.
Yeah.
And then we start it over again.
I had a big issue with a lot of doomsday sayers. Like, man, you're saying that everything's going to end. Like, we just had children. We have a future ahead of us. You know, you're telling me everything's going to end. Or Biden stays in, everything's going to end. Or it's getting a little radical with some of the right wing.
Oh, man. I always tell them, say, listen, if we as ex-slaves who knew we were being treated like shit, believed in hanging on to see if things would work out, then y'all could shut the hell up.
Exactly.
That's one way to put it.
You can shut the hell
Both
up.
sides gonna see that.
Right? You've been asking us to sit back, and we've waited and finally did get a civil rights movement, and now things may seem a little scary to you, and you ready to call bullshit on the government. No.
Sit back.
Sit back.
Snap in your safety belt. Pull
Welcome
the
to
harness down and get ready for the ride, just like the rest of us.
Damn, Skippy. Welcome to America.
Yeah. Nick, what y'all got going on the other side of the table? Y'all having a secret meeting?
I'm just listening to the conversation.
You real quiet today.
I'm just listening, you know. I told you I had to work on things. I had to work on listening.
But spirituality is one of your jams.
I know. That's why I chose to just listen to you guys' perspective on it. You know, it's sometimes I like to hear my people, just to hear their perspective on it.
I love it.
You know.
So you read in between the lines, like
Yeah.
business.
Yeah. All right, so we're gonna jump to environmental
health. Oh man, no.
Yeah, we're done with spiritual health. Moving right along, because I want us to get through. We don't have to get through all of them, but I want us to get through environmental at least. Vocational and financial, I think we could definitely handle on another show. But environmental, because environmental has to do with every place you are in.
Right.
And one of the things I always challenge my clients to do is take a look at your car. How well are you taking care of your car? Take a look at your house. How well are you taking care of your house? Take a look at yourself, right? Because your mental is part of your environment. Your body is part of your environment. And though your mental and your physical impact the actual environments you're in, whether they be your relationship, whether they be at work, whether it be in the car, whatever energy that you have going towards that environment, you're going to see in that environment.
Got to tap into our luminous cocoon.
Yep.
Luminous cocoon. I haven't heard that before.
I ain't never heard that before either.
Say more.
Carlos Castaneda.
No.
Well, it's about like affecting your surroundings, vibrating at a higher frequency, and it's I'm not gonna lie, mine is at a 5, but I haven't been on it lately. But yeah, it's a very interesting book. Writer about 50 years ago, Carlos Castaneda, was talking about second attention and just like how the situation that you had and the way you took it.
Right.
You made sure that you affected your surroundings and had control of it. So it's like being in a position to do that at will, like they say, breaking the cosmic egg and being in tune with everything. For me, it made me passive, non-aggressive at times, and at the same time, it's like you can't really be everything going positive, everything going good. Things are gonna happen where you don't have control.
Right.
So being able to adjust to when I have to step out of a character in that. But I don't want to go too much on the luminous cocoon stuff. That's like a whole deep thing on affecting your surroundings, and if you like in an area where you see people doing something, you feel like you could spark a conversation with them and things can go a certain way. Instead of not doing that and just walking past them. Little things like that kind of triggering a day, triggering the way things will go in your day. But something I wanted to add to that environmental health is something that I've really been focused on. I live in an area where things are kind of shaky. So when I go outside, I try and stay positive. I see some people that look like life is really, kicking their ass. So giving them a little bit of a spark or inspiration to look at the fact that they're still breathing. And tomorrow, tomorrow can come. It can change, but they're there right now in the moment and they can change something.
Yeah. One of the spinoffs I learned from that was smiling is like contagious, right? Like when you smile at people and you say hello, good morning, like it triggers a smile in them. And so it's a easy way to impact your environment. Just people getting in and off the elevator, right? They're in their zone, in their own world, in their own head. You say good morning and smile and they're like, oh, good morning. How are you? Right? It's just impacting your environment and reharnessing energy, right? So if you see someone who's really stressed out, or I have a couple friends that we handle stress very similarly. Like you see us come in the gym, we don't make eye contact with anyone. Like we're just like, I'm just going to go work out and get this energy out. Like I'll go up to like one of them in particular. I'll just go up to her and be like, all right, come on, give me my hug. And she's like, you already know. I'm like, of course, I can read it on your face, right? So it's not trying to fix the whole situation, but that hug is that exchange of energy, right? It's that exchange of impacting your environment. Sometimes I'll just feel people's energy low. And if I'm full, I can just give them a hug and they're like, man, you give the best hugs, right? It's like, yeah, because I just want to give love. And it's actually free at this point. I don't feel like I'm pouring into you from an empty cup. I'm actually pouring in from a full cup because I did my work to get when I got here, so I can share. Now, if I'm not there, I'm usually the first to say, I'm not there. I don't have it for you today. Maybe tomorrow. I'm working on some things. This past week, I've been walking around with a heavy blanket. I lost yet another member of my family. As you get older, you lose them more and more. And so this summer, I kicked off the summer losing my grandfather. And this past week, I lost my grandmother on my other side of the family. She was Jehovah's Witness. So there's a lot of spiritual wrestling with that, right? I hope for her that she went on to a better place. But the better place of her understanding sounds irrationally, wildly absurd to me. And I don't want to down anyone or their beliefs. So that's not where I'm coming from. It's just as I'm grieving, that's something that I'm processing. It's like, is my spirituality big enough to include your theology when it's different than my own? So in my own environment, people have been like, are you all right? I'm like, I'm tired. People are like, are you all right? I'm like, I'm tired. People are like, you need to rest. I'm like, you think? Like, right. I have been resting, but I'm still going to be tired because I have this wrestling going on, right? So within my own environment, but I can share. I can say, hey.
Yeah. Understanding is the other freeing thing in that. Even in the sense of thinking of that theology, there's a spirituality in it.
Yes.
It is just really a shifting from an external or let's say exoteric perspective to an esoteric perspective.
Yeah.
It's the same book.
Right.
But it can just simply be a shift in how you're looking at it.
Right.
To where, and the importance for me was so that I could have conversations with family and so on and so forth who were coming from an exo or an external perspective.
Right.
So now when they hear me speak, even though I'm a yogi and I wear ankh and whatever, I can speak from a Christian spiritual perspective.
Right.
That they're like, oh, wait, so you believe in the same thing? I'm like, yeah, I'm just not trapped by the straight line.
Exactly. Yeah. I believe God is in everything, which is a more ancient perspective of how we look at spirituality, period. Right? Like, if you have all these, I love, You know how much I love your decolonization of history. OMG. Please catch that when he does it next. Jay, tell them when you're going to do another workshop on decolonization of history.
And I honestly, I need to do it. Actually, I'm going to do it for Black History Month. So I'm definitely going to do it.
We ain't waiting until February.
Well, because I do it within the teacher trainings as part of helping to shift people's perspectives.
Yes.
And so where you got it was
I
in
know.
the teacher training.
I know.
And so because I do it like 3 times a year, then actually doing it as a separate thing becomes another space that I need to make room for. But it's what I would like to do is just open up the teacher training when I do the decolonization of history module.
Yeah.
And so the next teacher training happens September 23rd, but it's filling up fast if anybody gets curious.
Is that a 200 hour?
It's our 200 hour.
If you're interested
Yeah.
in becoming a yoga teacher, listen to this man.
If you're interested in becoming a grounded human being,
Yes.
the
Facts.
training is not there so that people can say, oh, I want to go out and teach yoga. For me, it's there so that you can really check in with yourself and find that bit of peace, that bit of self-love. Because if I don't love me, then nobody can love me.
And if you're interested in learning all that yoga actually means, because I think that's the first thing. Like, we say yoga and people think a class, right? I was blessed to know someone who went through one of your teacher trainings and is a yoga teacher, but she leans more in the way of meditation.
Which is yoga.
It is yoga.
Before
Breath
the
work
asanas.
is yoga, right? Yes. And so if you are interested in growing in spirituality, if you're interested in growing in your body, if you're interested in growing in your mind, if you're interested in growing, period, please tap in with this man to my left and what he got going on 3 days after my birthday. Side note, my birthday's this month. You like that segue? You like that segue? Like that segue? September 20th.
Ooh.
Yeah.
My daughter's birthday is September 26th.
Nice.
And my grandmother's birthday is September 27th.
Nice.
So the Libras are big. Again, as a yogi, balance.
Yes.
Skills balance.
Yeah.
But again, for me, that environmental health is that I'm surrounded by these grounding and balancing folks.
Yes.
That I think is important to see, like, who it is that you're choosing. Like, are you always with people arguing, fighting, and whatever? And now, are you addicted to that kind of negativity?
Yeah.
Because you can say that, oh, they're doing whatever,
Yes.
but you're choosing to go over there and spend time in it.
Yes.
And so, you know, I family I love,
Yes.
but I will have to take some at a smaller dosage because they could be wrapped up in a lot, and then for them to be hearing my kind of kumbaya perspective can be like even more jarring and whatever. It's like, because I believe that we all get our own journey, right? And this is again a part of that environment. And sometimes you got to let people go through their journey, not mess up your environment to now go and try and pull somebody out of theirs.
Right.
Like that could be our mistake in a sense of, if somebody sees us, you know, like, you want to come speak to me, but you come over to my environment. You come over to my peace. Don't have me come over to your mess or to your craziness.
Right.
I love myself enough to where I'm not going to put myself through.
You're not going to eat in everybody's kitchen?
You know,
That's right.
That's damn skippy.
So many people have stopped potlucks for that reason. We're not eating everybody's cooking coming out of your kitchen. We don't know if you wash your hands.
Right.
He who thinks said, how about going to the language it was revealed in before it was translated to Greek? Wouldn't that provide an even deeper understanding? I'm going to let you address that one. And then I'm going to let you address that one. You're the linguistic person. And then I'm going to give my 2 cents.
What about the revealed?
He said, how about going to the language it was revealed in, talking about the Bible, I'm assuming, before it was translated to Greek? Wouldn't that provide an even deeper understanding? So let me say this. The New Testament was written in Greek. The Old Testament was written in Hebrew.
And so, wanted to break this down from my perspective. Again, I don't believe that what I'm saying is the truth. I'm explaining what I've researched for myself, and so what would be the truth for me. And so the Old Testament is what the Jews, or their Torah, which was unfinished. And so they basically wrote down what were their rituals and practices and so on and so forth. So now you fast forward, they've been getting their butt kicked. Rome and the Greeks, basically, Rome has control over their nation, if you will. And so they're recognizing that their way ain't working. We've been getting our butts handed to us. We can't, overcome. And so the people of that time begin to write down their understanding in that new philosophy.
Yes.
And there's the good news to say within our understanding is this freedom, is this moksha, is this way of love. Now, that is what happens all throughout time, is that we, again, will have a way of doing things, and then the older we get, it sort of changes a bit. It don't make what I did as a kid necessarily wrong and whatever. It's just that's what I did as a kid. And so we see that happen with religion over time and whatever. It don't necessarily work for folks in that way, and so they change things up. It don't mean that they're not trying to be about love and so on and so forth. And so when you say, what about the language or the writings that came before, revealed knowledge comes out of the mouths of all people.
Yes.
And so if you want a deeper understanding of God, then begin to read about God from different perspectives.
Yes.
What did Africans think about God? What did Hindus think about God? Mm-hmm. What did Chinese people think about God? And don't fall into the trap of white supremacy or, again, Western thought, which tells you that everybody's talking about a different God.
Right.
If you're somebody that believes that there's only one God, then you understand that we're all talking about the same damn thing.
Yes.
Just from different perspectives. And when you get that, now you're taking these different pieces and able to see a fuller picture of God. But when you're just taking it through the lens of just these one people who, by the way, did not see us as human beings.
Right.
And if your philosophy allows your leadership to enslave people in a way that has never been done, don't tell me slavery has always existed. It never existed in that way.
Never.
Then you are not, again, understanding love.
Right.
And that don't matter what you practice.
Yes.
I can speak to anyone and say, again, Jehovah is trying to teach you about love. Don't come to here to talk to me about Satan and Satan's government. Talk to me about Jehovah or God and what has it done for you.
Right.
Right? You sitting here a Satan worshiper talking to me about all of the negative and shit that's going on in the world. You can't tell me nothing about the positive that's going on in the world, then you're the one always on the dark side. But again, off of my soapbox.
And I pass the mic far left.
Yeah, there's a language evolution issue. You often find language when we see things like just Greek, we forget that there's dialects and stuff. So even in the Greek that's connected to the spirituality, it's connected to Koine Greek. Koine has the Hebraeos or Hebreos. There's a few other ways they say it, but you'll find that even though it's saying translated to Greek, but it had to go through a process of getting there. So when you break down the words that are supposedly translated to Greek, where the words come from, it had to have an ideal first. And this is a correction. The Bible was written in Greek. The New Testament was written in Greek.
Yes, it was first written in Greek. Yeah.
New Testament.
The Old Testament was written in Hebrew.
Exactly.
Yeah, I just want to make sure
that's the
that
translation.
they're clear of that.
So a lot of people think like now that it's in Greek, that takes away when you'll go and find that even though it's in Greek now, but the words and ideals still exist in the Hebrew language.
Yeah.
So it becomes irrelevant, but a person, if they're into theology, then they can actually get a concordance, Bible concordance, where they'll show you, the Latin, the Greek, and the Hebrew.
And there's interlitteraries. So there's actual software that you can use that helps you dissect the words and see the various meanings for them. One's called Logos. That's the one we used at APU. So you could actually dive into a text, pull up a few different concordance if you like, pull up a biblical encyclopedia. But what you have to remember is people were writing for their time and their experience.
Mm-hmm.
So people are writing from their perspectives of what they're experiencing God and people and all of these things to be, right? It's their understanding. Go ahead, Nick.
I disagree with that point. I don't think that people are writing the Bible from their own perspectives. It states that in the Bible that, in fact, all these are inspired by the Word of God, that it's not individual perspectives. And if you want understanding to the Bible actually explains how to understand it. So this is Isaiah 28 and 9. It said, "Whom shall he teach knowledge? Who shall he make to understand doctrine?" Which is the Bible. "Them that are weaned from the milk, that are drawn from the breast." Basically explaining those people who take the time to learn the basic fundamental laws. Then it states right after that, "Precept must be upon precept, line upon line, here a little, there a little." The only way to understand the Bible is to do the commandments. But that applies to anything in life.
Yeah.
If I want to learn to be a surgeon, I can read everything I want to read. If I don't actually go out and practice and apply the practice, I'm never going to understand what it's like to be a surgeon. So you can read it in any language you want to read it in. It don't matter if you don't actually go out and apply what it's saying. So if you don't practice the commandments, if you don't practice the laws and the holidays and keeping the Sabbath, it don't matter what you read. You're never going to understand what it's saying. That's just the reality that we live in today. No matter what it is, any topic in the world, if you want to understand it, you have to do it.
You have to apply it.
So that's what I would tell people. That's what I've learned from applying the scriptures. I've gotten the understanding no matter what language it's written in. And as far as the Old Testament, New Testament, there's no New Testament. People don't understand what they're referring to. When you read the New Testament, they say as it's written because they're reading the Old
It's the
Testament.
fulfilling of the First Testament.
No, they're reading the Old Testament. That's where they're getting information from. The only thing that existed was the Old Testament.
Right.
So
They
we're just
memorized
reading people reading the Old Testament.
They actually memorized it. Like
Right.
most young men had the Torah memorized before they were like 12 years old, word for word.
Right, so that's like me re-recording a Tupac song. I can't say it's a new song.
Right.
This has been done. I'm just repeating what the man said, essentially, you know. So.
But I would argue that's still your perspective, right? Like that's even your perspective.
No. What I was saying about perspective is the Bible states that there's no individual perspectives.
Right.
That whatever's written in the Bible was inspired by the Word of God. No man sat down and said, "I'm gonna write this and make this make sense," according to what the Bible says.
Right.
So that's not according to what I'm saying.
But in the sense of you're saying the Bible, you're talking about the canonized Bible of X time. So what books were accepted to be in the sense of the book that you're saying that you have to read that book?
Correct.
And so in that sense that book was never written as the book that we see today, that it had to be canonized, to have these individual books now taken from these different places and now put together to show a beginning and an end of books that were never written to show a beginning and an end. If we can look at, say, the Adam and Eve story, you see something that's more of an analogy for puberty than you do in the sense for the creation. And I say that in the sense that we all come into a knowledge of ourselves. And once we come into that knowledge of ourselves, then our shame, our sin, our so on and so forth begins to come in. But before that, as children, we don't have that same knowledge, and thereby we're kind of more free. And so for me, as I read that that creation story, then that's really talking about more in the sense of the creation of my ego than it is talking about the creation of said universe. But that's looking at it from my perspective as a mystic, not as someone reading it as a straight line of beginning to end.
I don't think the Bible is written as a straight line. That's why it says. That's why I read the part right here. It says it must be read precept upon precept. Mm-hmm. So it's not meant to be read in a straight line. It's not a straight line.
It starts in the beginning.
So for example, like when I read Genesis, for example, right, and it said the Lord made these things in 6 days, right? You don't get the understanding to what they mean by days till way later on in the Bible. You have to keep reading the scriptures till you finally get the understanding to what days meant. It says a day is upon 1,000 years to the Lord. So now I have to go back to Genesis and reread it with that understanding. So I understand what you're saying. It's a constant unfolding, right? It's a tree. It's forever growing. You're forever going to grow in the word. That's what I believe. So I don't believe it's a straight line.
Well, straight line in the sense of beginning and end.
Yeah, the book itself
Genesis
is put
is
together
the
through
beginning.
Revelation.
And then Revelation is talking about the end.
Right.
So how we started
Right.
and how we will end.
Right.
That's a straight line.
Like how the book is canonized.
I got that, but I don't think that's done by man.
It was canonized by men.
I don't think that
he's-
man
he's-
sat down.
He's
plotted this
amplifying
thing
the
out.
divinely
Right.
led aspect of it.
Right.
Right. I think this is all divine. Even the man that does it, right?
The man that does what?
That canonize the
that
book.
canonized the Bible. I don't believe that a group of men sat down without the Lord's will being present and decided to manipulate things the way they are today. I think no matter how bad or good, in my perspective, they look, it's all in His plan. It's all going to work out for the Most High. So I may see war as a bad thing. I can read stories in the Bible, right, that says go kill all these people, murder the kids, kill the animals, everything. Now, any human being should read that and go, damn, that's fucked up, right? But I'm a human. That's my perspective. I'm not the creator. You understand? But if I step back and take a look at one of His perspective was to kill a group of people. These people later on became the nation of people that put us in slavery. That's crazy to think about. At the time, back in history, we didn't want to kill this whole group of people. These group of people later on became a group of people to actually enslave us, hundreds and thousands of years later. You know what I mean? So I don't try to pretend.
But that would mean that group stayed separate, and now they held on to their same understanding, and later on became a group of people that enslaved another group of people.
I'm sorry, say it again.
Well, you're saying that a group of people that were killed, I guess we're talking about within the beginning where they went to take these lands.
They were ordered to go kill a whole nation of people.
Ordered them to kill people.
They didn't kill the whole nation of people.
And so they killed men, women, children.
You talking about Saul?
But they didn't kill them all.
You talking about Saul?
Right. They were ordered to kill everybody. They didn't kill everybody.
And so later on they come back.
If you follow that, I'm a bit of a historian myself. So if you follow those people, that group of people throughout history, you will see that hundreds of thousands of years later, that group of people, when they expanded to become another group and renamed themselves, was actually one of the nations that took us into slavery.
When we
were on the west coast of Africa.
Well, we'd probably have to share some books and things to be able to trace back what it is that you're saying to show that these people.
Oh, I wasn't going into a history class right now. I was just making a statement.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
I was just making a statement.
Ironically, that's what our Stir the Pot is about.
I encourage nobody should believe nobody. That's what I say. I don't believe nobody. I do my research. I do my history. So I encourage everybody to do the same. So just because I'm saying it, don't take it with a grain of salt, you know?
I definitely.
Take it with a grain of salt.
Stirring the pot.
I would say that there's a mindset that allows people to do what it is they do. I wouldn't say that there are people that are just set in a certain way. I see all people capable of evil. I see people with melanin capable of same said evil. If we fall into a mindset that it is all about us, then we can be those evil folks. My sense of things is that we're all the same human beings, and what we see again through DNA and so on, so is a mixing and so on and so forth. You go back 100,000 years. You go back to talk about Bronze Age civilizations and so on and so forth. There is an ability to trace to a certain extent, but again, the folks that enslaved us, they were ignorant Europeans that had no sense of knowledge or whatever. The barbarians.
I don't believe that.
The barbarians that the Romans talk about within their own writing and whatever talk about these folks that had no whatever. And so these are the folks that now begin to start taking over Rome as it begins to fall. You have Constantine comes to try and reunite things, and we see the perversion or the fall away of mysticism into more fundamentalist, flat earth thinking. That, again, is what we see that just begins to happen as the Iron Age begins to just completely fall apart. And you see the Europeans begin to take control of things. And those people were definitely Vikings and all these other folks who, again, they did not have any knowledge of civilization. When we say civilization, we're saying religion, the ability to build, central government, there's all art and so on and so forth. All of those things can be traced.
I understand what you're saying. I understand that you're in the whole mysticism thing. I just subscribe.
That's history.
I subscribe to the Bible personally. And what the Bible tells me is that the Most High chose a certain group of people. He didn't choose another group of people. He calls a group of people his chosen people. Another group of people, children of the devil. So people could take it. You might not like it. Like I said, it's all perspective because I'm not the Most High, so I can look and see.
And that's why I said it's
I know a
based on that person's perspective.
No. I'm not saying that. I agree with that.
Even still, no. But
I can understand you have a perspective.
everyone does.
I can understand that.
Right.
I don't agree with perspectives. My perspective is whatever the Bible say.
Well, it's your interpretation of whatever the Bible says.
I don't have an interpretation.
Okay.
I have no private interpretation. I'm saying whatever the Bible say, that's what my perspective is. But I'm human enough to understand. But I'm human enough to understand everybody's going to have their own perspective outside of what I understand this Bible is telling me.
Yeah, because it's how you've lived and what you understand the Bible to say.
Right.
Okay, well, the Bible says there's no private interpretation. That's why I keep saying that.
I understand.
Just to clarify.
Yes.
Right.
Stirring the pot.
Well, when you
Back to stirring the pot.
Look, bro, me and you go sit down.
Mom's gonna stir this pot and smack somebody with this spoon if y'all don't let me say what I gotta say.
We gonna get the
I've been a
brothers
mom
together.
a long
We gonna get the brothers
time.
together.
Okay.
We gonna wrap.
do this,
We
okay?
gonna wrap this
Definitely.
bad boy
I
around
see
a
he hungry
stirring
for
the
knowledge.
pot.
I like it. That's what I'm saying. Go ahead. You got it, Harmony.
Me and the Jehovah's Witnesses have
Pop his
conversations
finger.
every Sunday.
I heard you say that earlier. and
Every
I,
Sunday.
I put a note in when you
And
said it.
that's one of my best friends.
For sure.
I love this brother.
Go ahead, Harmony. We on board.
Yeah, y'all gonna go
You
back
went
and.
down this road. I tried to be
I know.
quiet.
I did. I don't care.
I tried to be quiet. So
I'm fine.
fine.
I'm fine. I don't care.
Oh, I love
We
it.
about to stir the pot more.
I love it.
All right.
What and it is going to be a perspective. What aspect of history has informed your present most?
Ooh.
Your present.
And so there's my present is informed by different histories, if you will. And so I, again, as a child raised up, then of course my history was grounded in a Western understanding. And that Western understanding is really grounded within Christian fundamentalists. And so first I had to go back and look at biblical history, which then had me go back and look at archaeological history, which then had me go back and look at what do they call it, geological history in a sense, to see weather patterns.
Yes.
And then there's DNA and so on and so forth. And so for me, all these different disciplines have to overlie one another to give me a more complete and fuller perspective. And so as I've researched all these different things based on these different modalities and disciplines, now I come with this sense of, say, as we talk about people within the Bible, say, again, from my perspective, we talk about a Joseph. And so we look back in these different disciplines of archaeology and so on and so forth, and we find no such individual. But of course, we wouldn't find anybody with that name because there's no J. Right? And so you go back and you look to find someone with a similar story in the sense of historically of what I've been able to find. And you find a Yusuf and his wife Yuya, Yuya and Tuya. Yusuf is actually the word for Joseph. And so for me, I'm like, oh, wow. So now I could begin to actually look back from a historical time period and read what these people write as their history, and then read what I've been told as history, and then see again from an archaeological standpoint and whatever, what matches up with what. And now what I see is, again, more of a round robin of stories being told at different times that seem to have been included in what we now say is the Bible.
Right.
Because now I can look back and see the story of Sargon from a civilization called the Akkads they've written down all their stuff, goes back thousands of years, and they talk about someone being put in a basket, pushed down the river, and a princess taking him out. That's just what they wrote, and it's no anything to anyone else. But as I see all these different
They complement
similarities,
each other.
now I'm like, oh. And then when you ask me to accept just a certain people, then you're asking me to say that then God is not in the ear of anyone else.
Right.
And when I look and I see that all of these people actually talk about God being in their ear and demonstrate it and so on and so forth, then I go, well, then that does not jive for me. And so for me, that discipline of when I say historian, then it has, in a sense, to be compared to all of these different disciplines. But that's, again, being able to discern as I'm commanded to. To discern means that I have to look for that understanding.
Facts. Passing the mic next door. What aspect of history has informed your present the most?
It's weird. It's like my own personal history or just history.
However you receive the
Is there a
question.
difference?
Yeah, that is complicated. Well, difference is like in my own history is a lot different than history I've been studying. But I like to focus on that. Like personally, something that's really been bugging everyone is finance. So I've been looking at the history of how the Federal Reserve came into existence and seeing the way it's playing out now. That we might go no paper, no coin, no nothing. And so for my personal history, it was like with the finance situation like that, I remember saving up money, stacking dollars or so. And now it's like, what am I going to be stacking? So it's kind of like where do we go from here with the financial situation? Like, are we going to rely on a system? I mean, I guess to exaggerate, an EMP burst, now you don't have access to it. And opposed to having some money saved somewhere in the couch, rainy day, safe, or anything like that.
Right.
I don't know why I thought about that as a
earthquake.
but,
Like my mom used to stash like
Part of history.
$2 and $3 all around the house, and my great grandmother did it too, right? Just in case of an earthquake, and people pop. How you gonna be in the room and distracting? Jesus.
And I find myself now where it's like I'm so used to everything digital and everything, no longer paper, using a card.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh man, if something happened, like I don't have the finance like on me to do it. I have to go to a bank. Can't get out the bank. Terrible.
Yeah.
So with the history of that and trying to see like how did we live before the panic of 1906, 1906 to the Federal Reserve being created, is like where do I go from here in that sense? And I'd have to say that in my history, I was good at saving money, but then what are we going to save? So with that, I came up with an ideal that mining and manufacturing, and for everything that we want, need, and use, then I can alleviate myself of at least a great deal of worrying about food, shelter, and clothing if I can find a way to establish a way to have that to where I'm not putting money, which I would put energy into some paper or credit card into that. So I don't know, with thinking like that, it's like, okay, and then I can remove that burden of, man, they're gonna create a system now, a system that might have a few holes in it. Can I put together a system that is so much better than that one that people would either apply it to a type of system or follow in suit? But that's something just dealing with the history that I've been seeing, that studying a lot of stuff from the 19th century and all the things that were happening that we as a whole, if not everybody, should really think about establishing control of our food, shelter, and clothing. Just want to make sure I got that message out, that with the history of that, it won't be as effective if we know how to make our own shoes, our own socks, our own pants, our underwear, our shirts and stuff. Like I have a bunch of Levi's stuff and all this. If I could find a way to grow my own food, or at least if I want to eat meat, take care of my own animals, excuse me, and essential things, water and power. You know, I don't see any Oprah, water companies, electric companies, or Michael Jordan, none of them. So it's like these certain things I've been noticing that it's been a real lack in our communities, you know, of many walks of life, but it's been a major lack. And with my own personal history, I was looking into that and I was like, you know what? Like, I really want to start talking about that now, to where find a way to break free of that and live financially free. And man. But anyway, I'm kind of creating a utopian moment there, but that's my own personal history.
We need to own property.
Yes.
If I was going to invest something and whatever and know that money won't be worth anything, looking at the history of Western civilization, it's all based on property ownership.
That's right.
And so it's why what you see is us owning less and less and less property. I was looking at something in the 1920s, we owned like...
Oh, man.
I can't remember, it's like maybe, and I'm just putting out numbers, but probably like 15 million acres, and now it's down to like 2 million acres. And that's sort of what the bubble economy is designed to do, is to now, like, you've got this money, but it's really, they're just kind of making it up. That's the Federal Reserve and whatever.
Right,
They're
inflation.
just making it up. And then when they need to reset things, they pop the bubble. And then they pick the winners and losers, which are usually us.
Yes.
And so if you're holding cash or money, then it's pretty much worthless. Credit cards, so on and so forth. But if you've got now investments and things, and this is what most so-called white folks do, is that they put their money in stuff. They don't have their money sitting in cash.
That's right.
You know, again, and something that they helped show me and demonstrate whatever. When I needed to go buy a car, I had to go cash in some stock. It's knowing that you're in this system, and so you need to invest in this system. The one thing they won't do is completely ruin the system, because it's what their money is also based in.
Yes.
Right? But if you don't understand the system and you're playing on that that false field, if you will, credit cards and cash, then you're going to be easy to be wiped out.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. It's got to be a way to be to stay ahead of what's going on.
And to do what you're talking about, you need property to do. Like, if you're going to be sustainable and grow your own food and have your own animals and all those things, you have to have property to do that. You know, you have to have space to be able to do that. So
yes, that's the argument that needs to be waged within this conversation of reparations.
Yes.
If they just give us cash, right, they just giving us this false field.
Yes, exactly, exactly.
Right? And so they give us an investment within the society, or free schooling, or some participation within the system in a different way. That's reparations. Just giving us cash is just BS.
Right. More printed paper.
Well, they do that. They're called stimulus, and then they take them out of our taxes. And on that note,
they have inflation.
Right, we're going to start to wrap up. Thank you so much for indulging me on this intentional discovery of self-reflection and just where you are and where you want to be. I'd like to thank my guests. Please tell the people where they can find you.
You can find me on Instagram at 10th Letter Yoga. You can also find me the Tree Yoga Co-op. The Tree Yoga Co-op is where we teach yoga, we do trainings, we do everything in a sense to help with everything it is that we was talking about in relationships.
Yes. And you, tell the people where they can find you.
You can find me on Instagram, Meta from MC, Facebook. I have my name also, Matthew Craig, and my YouTube channel, I just recently changed it to American Lotus. Where you get a great deal of information dealing with geography and places in America. A lot of stuff to deal with some of my ancestry here in America. But the main focus is, you know, like I mentioned earlier, about you know, securing 70 generations and, you know, building a brighter future. You know, I'm really focused on that. So that's like my main thing that I talk about on my YouTube channel. But yeah, you definitely can find me there. Also, I pop in and out of some social media conscious community stuff, but I'm going to take some time away from that. But when I do, I deal with the House of Consciousness, some of the Hebrew Israelite brothers, some of the Kemetic brothers, the Aboriginals, all walks of life, trying to stay neutral as possible. And you know, it's pretty much it. I'm not on Twitter or anything anymore, so I can. Fuck that. Elon took that, so you can have it.
It's not even Twitter no more.
Yeah, what is it? I don't even know what it's called.
X.
Oh man, it would be with him.
X Twitter.
Well, thank you for joining us. I'd like to give a shout out to Rollout Digital, Speedy and Friends, my boy Nick sitting across from me, being a part of our conversations every single show. The chat room for coming in and being participatory. If you're interested, Nick dropped the link where you can grab the worksheets that we were working on. Get your packet, get your homework. Take stock on where you are and where you want to go and make your plan your work and work your plan. Live the life you love. And if you don't, holla at your girl. It's what I do. We've been blessed and hope you have a wonderful rest of this September month. Virgo season. Are we ready?
Rising.
Yes, yes. Enjoy this super full moon as well. And without further ado, we out. Peace.
Peace.